Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I have an interesting video. This time working on a Marine ECM. It's a 496 8.1 liters Mercruiser sent from I think it's Maryland. Lenny and Ryan, this is your computer. This computer was repaired here over a year ago, and now they have, well, at first and a year ago there was no communication. The computer wasn't even talking. And then it's been running good for a little over a year. And now they have a misfire, or not misfire, let's say, like a rough running, and they have narrowed it down to injectors 3 and 7. So they said, that they swapped the computers, and well, it's a little inconclusive on what they wrote here, because they said and let's just actually read the information, which is better, and it's to me just giving you a sure idea of what it is. So, but I had the computer connected, and I run it yesterday, but I just connected it ready at night. It was like almost 8 p.m. And then I have it here. So this is the computer. It's marked as Sport Side, and that is the light for the IEC, which is actually doing something weird when I just power up the computer. And I'm just putting battery power right here. Let me just show you. And that is staying on. It shouldn't. That is very abnormal. When I put the ignition, it goes off. It goes away, but that is kind of weird, because that shouldn't be on. And I have other computers that I might be able to connect in here, 496 as well. Then we can do that test, so we can see that, because this is the first time I repair this computer very often. So this is very unnormal. So something definitely happening here. Something got shorted or something in the harness that is doing what they experience. But let me get the note in the screen, and let's take a look at that. All right, so let me just, I think that's probably a good size. It says, "Good morning, Mike. Yesterday, Lenny mailed the computer, mail you his poor ECM that we spoke over the phone on Tuesday. Last year, when we sent this ECM to you, the ECM had no communication with the DLC. However, at that time, we believe all 8 injectors were contributing normally. More recently, after getting the starboard, another computer that I repaired for them, ECM back from you, we got an alarm on this ECM and began testing. I noticed vibration and seemed down on power, so I performed a cylinder kill test and verified that cylinders 3 and 7 were not contributing. Using an oil light, it was hard to tell. However, using a stethoscope on the injectors themselves, I could audibly tell that 3 and 7 both sounded like they were skipping firing. Every other order, every several crank revolutions. I then swap ECM from the starboard." This is the part I don't understand, Ryan, from your note. "I then swap ECM from the starboard to port and repeated this test, and my results were consistent with the ECM running the opposite engine." So consistent means, is it still happening the same, or the problem went away? This is what I don't understand. I'm going to have to call him, because I mean, if you connect another computer that is running good in another engine, and now you plug it into the one that's running bad and is doing the same, then the problem is in the engine, not in the computer. But we will see. I mean, I have the computer here, and I also have injectors. So I'm going to call Ryan and ask him about that, because again, and this is the problem when you're swapping a computer onto a bad engine. That's very problematic, because if it's something burning in there, you can damage a computer immediately. So that other computer can now be compromised. What I normally do, which is the safest thing to do, especially when you have 2 engines, twin engines like this, is move the bad computer to the good engine. Because the bad computer, let's say, if you have a problem on a computer internally, it will not damage the components or the harness, right? Because this is the weakest point. But if you have a good computer and you put them into the bad engine, where it's a shorter harness or a shorter injector or a shorter output or a shorter sensor, that can immediately damage the computer. And now you have 2 bad computers. You see what I mean? So it's better to put the bad computer in a known good engine and harness, especially if it's running good. That's the way you do the test. And having twin engines is pretty good to do swaptronics, right? Especially when you have no diagnostics. Let's just keep following the reading. Is, as we discussed, I remove injectors 1, 3, 5, 7, and we send these to you so that you can test these and let us know if you suspect any problems. 3 and 7 are in one back label as questionable, and 1 and 5 are in another bag label are good. I'm including picture of injector flow test results from May 7 that displays the resistance and inductance from all the injectors at that time. Lastly, if you plug this module into Diacom, please let me know if it stored any history codes of anything in the engine that will cause an alarm. I believe the alarm we heard was simply the water pressure from a small leak I fixed. However, we did not have a diagnostic tool available that day, the day we found this, to verify that. Thank you. All right, so let me go back to the folder, which I have here. Here. So this is the test that I did yesterday, and I connect the computer. So let's just scroll down to the bottom. So the computer has 912 83 hours. We have a Starbucks line overheated, 424 seconds, and that is this line in here. Let me get a box so you can see what I am. Come on. It's not letting me do it in here. Come on. No, it is. Yeah, that's a box so you can see what I am. So I'm in here. So 424 seconds. We have 62 seconds of guarding strategy. And then 37 seconds of blood pressure is low. So that could be a problem in there. So 912.83. Another thing that I always use as a control pits is here, my temperature on 163.4 and the air temperature of 84, 163, 84. So those are my control pits, so I know which faults can be mine and not. All right, so here, this looks pretty close to mine, right? So this is definitely not his. So I can disregard this one. 159, this is definitely not mine. So let me just grab this one. So I'm in here. So 159, 109. So this is definitely not mine. Running in idle, neutral. You see 615 RPMs. We have fuel injector number 6 open. It has available power of 100%. Battery voltage looks okay. And I hate this from not Diacom, or the manufacturer doesn't give the blood pressure, even though there is a pit. I don't know why they're not giving you, because when you're reading the data on Diacom, you can see that. But in the fault codes, it's not included. So you got a blood pressure fault, we will see shortly, but there is no pit that you can see what the blood pressure was at that moment. So nothing on that I can see, right? So only the injector open. And this is hard to know if it is, well, it's because they unplugged it or what, right? So we got fuel injector 4 open as well in here, another one, and it's pretty much at the same time, 100% power. Battery voltage a little on the low side in there, 1279. It's running a little rough because we can see 566 RPMs. Throttle position is a 0. Kind of weird. Well, let me see the other one. Yeah, in here also the throttle position was reading 0. That is weird. It's odd that you're reading with 0 TPS. Fuel injector 3 open. Again, this is almost the same time. It looked like 10 minutes later. And hard to say if they were disconnecting things or not. And then now we have all this full code, because look at the temperatures are definitely not mine. We got 656 RPMs. Now the battery voltage seems to be okay, 14.24. I don't like the TPS. Well, right now it's reading 0.25, so very low throttle position sensor, and that is odd reading. We have another fault coming up, fuel injector 8. Again, the same as the other 2 faults except for the number 3. Throttle position sensor in 0. Battery voltage seems okay. We can see the voltage, the temperatures are being, his. And the engine speed at 622. Again, 100% power. So not much to see here as far as just the fault. Just scrolling up because those are faults here. The pitted and trim sensors, the steering, those are here. IAC output. It seems like it's definitely here because of the temperatures, but I can definitely feel that IAC working weird. 1 second, guys. All right, so where were we? Right now, I was actually swapping a camera. I got a new tool, and now I have the Sony A1 Mark II recording on the other side. I'm putting, the Sony A7S III for now on the side, and I'm using my two Sony A1s to record all the values. I think it's better camera, and that one was giving me a little more of a hunting of the focus. And definitely, I think the image, please let me know what you think, but I think now the image on this camera is really nice and crisp. Obviously, that camera has a 50 megapixel sensor instead of a 12 megapixel, the Sony A7S III, but it has been a good tool for 5 years. So I'm very happy, and definitely I'm going to keep that camera because I always like, probably I'm going to put another capture, depends if I want to now do over the over the desk view when I'm doing a showcase or something. All right, but let's keep going with this. So I was showing you that on the IAC, which is very, very weird that is doing that. And I have another computer here, which let me just see 1 second. No, that's actually a jet drive. It's a completely different computer as far as the calibration. So the IAC will not work because it's a jet. It doesn't have an IAC. But let's do the test on this one. So we have questionable injectors and good injectors. So let's see. I have the Diacom ready to go and the oscilloscope. Perfect, like that you can see everything. So let's turn the computer on. Well, actually, I think it's on right now. So yeah, let me connect. And as you can see, we can connect instantly to the computer, no issues. And I mean, I can put a Diacom reading in here just so you guys at least can see that, the RPM. Yeah, you can see the data for the RPM, and they're going to put them on the side for me. And we have the oscilloscope ready to, it's actually running. So let's, I have now the channels connected to injector 3 and 7, which is this concern to see what we see on the computer, right? Because that's my goal, to see what we can find here. So I need to crank the RPMs more. The computer is not running yet, so I'll let you know when it's running. And on this calibration, these old computers, the IAC doesn't really work in idle. It works in a very high RPMs only. Now let's see where we are there. 260. So I want to go around 650 RPMs. We can see on his notes that is actually correct. That's pretty much what we're seeing in there. So I'm going to put a trigger just so we can stop the image from walking in the screen. And it's going to stop on injector A or injector 1. Injector 3. Let me make sure that's exactly what I have in there. No, actually, let me swap the channels. All right, so now we have injector 3 on the blue channel and injector 7 on the red channel. I don't see nothing wrong as far as the computer here. And what we're looking at is, or what I'm looking at right now, is to see the signature of that waveform. Again, this is with the simulator. We will connect injectors to see what we see shortly. I'm going to move one that I found very different is injector 6 on the computer. I'm going to put a little more filter in here to reduce the noise on that signal. So let me make it, I think 10 kilohertz should be the sweet spot, so we can get a better or a cleaner waveform. Yes, you guys can see that. I can actually reduce and have just two on the screen, right? Not too much. Let me move that a trigger here. So you see, when you have a trigger on an oscilloscope, you can make that image, because it's repetitive, it's stopping that image. It's not the same one. It's constantly refreshing because we have now 27, 30, 40 waveforms, so it's not the same image. but it's stopping that activation on the same spot. That's why we see that. But we can see that they're looking pretty close to each other. I like to see that, you know, humping on that tail of the form right here on the top of that blue channel. That's what I'm looking for to see. So I'm going to move the red channel to keep the blue there over to injector number 6. And I want you to see that. So the injector number 6, it looks choppy. Let me stop this capture. So I'm going to zoom in. Actually, you know, let me run it. I'm going to make more captures on the screen. Yeah, perfect. Let me stop it right now. So what I want you to see is this. So I'm going to do a zoom so we can do an analysis in here. Probably right here. Always grab from the top to the bottom so you don't lose detail. Actually, it didn't went well. So let me just redo that. Come on. Because I don't want to make it too white. Actually, that's probably my error because I'm making it too white. I didn't want to grab that, so sorry guys. I might gonna have to snap a picture so we can see that better, but I think this you can see there. So right here on the blue channel, we can see how we have a flat line, you know, from battery voltage, which is, I'm going to put a cursor right there. So that is reading around, let me see, 12.34 volts. And then at the bottom, we got 65 millivolts. So it's pulling it to ground very well. So the next thing that I want to see is this hump in here, right? It starts at 13.19, but then at the end of that, we can see that tail with like oscillations. That's exactly what I'm looking for. If we move or measure right here on the blue, sorry, on the red channel, we got almost the same battery voltage starting. Does it pull it to ground? Yeah, 142. So a little bit different than compared to the blue one, but not so bad. Let's see the high part of that pick in there. 13 volts. But look at the end of this right here. So right here, when I'm moving that section, there's almost no oscillations and it's very abrupt compared to the other one, but it is firing an injector. So even though I don't like what I see, it's still firing. I see, and I can measure, I can put measurements in here. So let's measure the pulse width on both channels. And we can see that A and B are reading 5.59 and B 5.6. So they're pretty close to each other. And I can make that measurement live. I'm going to remove all those lines and everything we put in there. We can see that they're firing 5.6, and that changes. You can see how sometimes it's 5.6 in the blue channel and 5.9 or 5.6 on the red channel, but they're both firing. So I don't really see a problem here, except for that weird behavior when it's just connected. Fuel pump is on, main power is on. I don't have any horn or fault codes. So everything is running well here. So I'm going to move now the blue channel to injector number 1. And you see the oscillations that I see and how clean is the blue channel compared to the red. That's the only thing I can see off. Like I'm going to go now from red channel to injector number 2. You see the oscillations. I actually like that channel, that injector number 2 better than even 1. You see all that oscillations left over. That means it's a really good driver. Let's go over to 3. 3, 3 is looking like 1. 4 is looking like 2. I like that one too. 5, it's okay. 6 again. The only one that I don't see those oscillations, but it's working, and we can connect, and we will connect the injectors in here. Number 7, and I hope that you're keeping an eye on the the pulse width activation, which is really nice and steady on all injectors. and then number 8. So realistically, all the injectors are firing. I don't see a problem here with the computer. But let's connect the injectors. So let me pause the video. I'm going to start. Let's do this. I'm going to grab one of the bad injectors and one of the good injectors, right? That he marked as, not bad. Let's just suspect bad. And we do a test with that. But let me set that up and I'll be right back, guys. All right, guys, I think I had everything ready in there. It's going out of focus again here. So it might be just the lens and not the camera. And this is exactly what I wanted to do, that test with that. All right, so right now I have the computer off. So I'm going to actually probably move the capture here. All right, so I have marked injectors with a Y marker. The one with the Y mark is a questionable, and then the other one is a good injector. Let's see how they run. Now I'm going to change the values in here. They're going to have to probably, I don't know, sometimes they go up to 200 volts. So we'll see. I changed now the scale on the oscilloscope, but let's run it. So I have one in, I can go a little lower than that. Not sure why it's not picking it up. Let me see how the trigger, let me change the trigger to maybe a window. Not really catching it either. Maybe pulse width. I'm trying to catch up when, trigger. It should be a simple itch. Should be enough. I'm not sure why it's not picking it up. Okay, now I picked it up. Perfect. Just counting, in between. It should be 7 activations, or sorry, 8 activations, but we're not looking at it all. Sometimes it happens before, sometimes it happens after. Let me raise RPM a little more. Very hard to capture like this. Let me just remove the trigger because it's not really helping much, right? Because I'm going to record probably 1 second. I need to maybe up the sample rate so we get to really see more detail on the signals. So I am in both of the bed injectors as far as the signals, but I can definitely see a little bit of an inconsistency in here. Let me just try another 2 injectors. Well, let me just show you what I'm talking about. So let's go over to the waveform number 1. See, in the beginning we have blue, red, blue, no red, then blue again, red, blue, red, blue, blue, red, blue, red, blue, blue, red, blue, red, blue, blue, red. So it's kind of weird. Is this happening because my cam to crank correlation, or is because we have a problem in here and something is skipping, as he has said? So the one I have right now, let's say if the one is skipping is the red channel, that it will be into injector number, let me just see, let me run it. I think that's injector number 7, but let me unplug. So yeah, the one I unplug is injector number 3. So the one is skipping is injector number 7. And injector number 7, you see that here, and it's actually the mark as good, but I hope that you can see that in there. So let me stop this running. And now we're going to pick up, I'm going to save that waveform, at least the first one. Let me just put a note in here, and I'm going to put blue channel, injector 3, red channel, injector 7, and I'm going to put, questionable here. With mark good injector. So I remember what we were looking at with, no, I think it's backwards. Let me just see. 3 is the yellow channel. Yellow. Oh no. So 7 is the black wire. And the black wire. Okay, no. So the black wire is actually in the red channel, and that is the questionable injector. So yeah, we might have a better injector here. Let's do with mark as questionable injector. I'm going to save this data. This is how you diagnose. I mean, this is very important, right? So guys, I hope that you understand and like that too. Make sure I'm in the correct file. Ryan, blah, blah, blah. Everything is perfect. So capture questionable and good injectors. Capture of real injector mark as, okay, I can save that in here now. Select, and we're just going to select the current because it's good enough. Oh, it's not liking the name too long. Come on, you see, you see what just happened in there? It's Windows. So if I have a folder inside a folder and inside another folder and the names are getting too long, Windows crashes. And this happens every time. So we just lost that capture. So I'm going to have to run it again, and I'm going to have to redo all the settings I have. So I'm going to put them into 10. And both are active. Yeah. And I'm going to change it. I think it was 50 millivolts, 50 volts. Let's run it one more time. I'm going to put this into, I think it was 1 second per screen, right? Let me change the sample rate. Because I want to have detail. That's the only reason I'm doing that. Readings, notes, just to remember what I'm doing, right? So blue channel. Let me just make sure I am doing this right. Blue channel. It is the good injector. So blue channel is good injector. And cell 3 driver. Like that I remember because I'm connected to the number 3 driver on the computer. So, and that one is running good with a good injector compared to the skipping one on the red one. So we're going to put red channel. Come on. Happened to me today. My channel is questionable. Injector on still 7 driver. Now I'm going to save this. Okay, so I'm going to snap the capture and then go back to waveform 1. Then I'm going to save it, but now let me show you this. I'm going to do the same, pretty much the same markings, but I'm going to put them into the desktop. And I'm going to name it the same. So, test of injectors. Test with real injector. Let me just say this. Test with real injectors. Test. Questionable. Mark as good and questionable. And now I select OK. And look, I can now save it and saved it with no issues. And it's not because it's a problem with Picoscope. It's a problem with Windows. It cannot read that many folders and folders into folders, especially when I have multiple hard drives. But why? Right? So that's so I have to put 1.1, 1.2. If I shorten the names, it can do it. But when it's a long name, because I like to find my information with those names, it makes a problem. All right. So now we have that, and let's analyze this one again one more time. I think 50 is a little too low on the voltage, so I'm going to increase that to 100. Let me go back to 50 and see if we are capturing or we are cutting the signal. So let me do a zoom. I'm going to do a zoom in here. Yeah, I mean, for what we're doing, I don't think it's a problem. Yeah, so that's good enough. So what I want to see now is the same. We're going to probably put a more aggressive filter. I was actually not even applying. So now with that is looking a lot cleaner. Do the same thing on the red channel. Perfect. So again, looking at the blue in this auto capture. Oh, you're not looking at that. What happened? I have to reselect it on here because we lost the Picoscope for a second. So give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. I was doing the changes and I didn't see that you were doing. We're not seeing it, but all right. So let's analyze the auto capture we just got. So we have, it should be blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, because it should be firing evenly, right? So it's a complete cycle of a fire, and every time injector fires, right? So we should have blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, but we have and we can see it here. We start with blue, then red, that's fine, then blue, then red, that's fine, blue, but then blue again. Red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, blue again, red, blue, red, blue. You see what I mean? So it's skipping, like this one is skip again. And it's skipping on the bad injector. So let's do another test. So I'm going to stop the running. I'm going to keep it in there. And now I'm going to swap the injectors, right? So all I need to do, I'm going to move. Yeah, all I need to do is move the connections in here. Now we're going to have the questionable injector on the blue channel and the question and the good in the red channel. Let's see if we still have the skipping, but now on the blue channel, then it's on the injector. If we still have the skipping on the red channel, then it's the computer, right? So let's try that. All right, let's run this. Now let's go back to the first capture. And we have red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, red. What happened? Now the good is on the red channel and the bad is on the blue channel. So Where is the problem? What did I just switch? Injectors, right? Nothing else. Did I swap anything else? No. We have now more activations on the in the red channel. So let me stop the computer and let me save this one. But we're now going to move the questionable mark, because the questionable was on cylinder 7, but it was on the red channel. Now we're going to move it over to Control X, and we're going to put them into the blue channel. And we're going to put the good injector, Control X, and we're going to move it into the red channel. And that's what we have now. So we have a good injector on number 3. Sorry, I have to, yeah, that's, I have to change the numbers in here. So 3 and then 7. Yes, now that note is good. And this is also for me. Sorry, guys. So we have in the blue channel the questionable injector on cylinder 3 driver from the computer. And we have the good injector on cylinder 7 driver that was now before not acting fine. Let me just make sure I put that correct. Yes. Is it correct? Good injector on cylinder 7. But that's the one is skipping. Let me just make sure. Sometimes let me figure it out. So we have cylinder 7 is yellow. Yellow is the good injector. So cylinder 7 is on cylinder 7, the good injector. Cylinder 3, black. Black is the bad injector. Bad injector. Yeah. We got everything good. So yeah. That's perfect. So I guess, yeah. So let me just save this 1 second, guys. And I'm going to save it on the desktop as well. And we're going to save it as test with real injectors. His mark is good and questionable. I'm going to put in this one the notes so I can remember. Now I'm going to move you guys over to my screen. And I'm going to take the Pico and the Diacoma away. And that out of there. And am I getting so many of those? Let me see what else is in here. Active should not be there. Full Pro should not be there. And this I can remove. That's it. Okay, so now let me get into the oscilloscope. So this is the one we just got the notes. Okay, so I'm going to put this in here, but I'm going to open another capture. So let's go to the desktop and we're going to open the one test with drill, but it has to be number 1. Yeah, perfect. So this is the first one. Okay. Make sure we got the filters on. And now we're comparing the 2 signals. They're exactly the same. And now I'm going to put this one. Actually, let me go back to here. Because I can select that and then this one. All right, let's so you guys see, let me remove myself from here. Just a second. On the left side of the screen right now, we have the good injector on the red channel. On the right side, we have the good injector on the red channel. All right, so I'm going to move the channels to separate them. Not too much, because we need to analyze again which one is skipping on which. On the left side, we have red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, red. So blue is skip. On the right side, we have blue, red, blue, red, blue, blue. The red is skip. You see what I mean? Now this, we have narrowed down as where is exactly the problem. Injectors, 100%. There is no doubt about it. Why? Because in the left capture, the one skip is the blue. In the right capture, the one skipping is the red. All we need, let me just make sure I'm saying that correctly. Red, blue, red, blue, red, red. No, red, blue, red, red. So the one skip is the blue, and that is the bad injector, the questionable injector. So the one skip is the blue channel on the left side, and reading my notes, that is where we had in that capture the questionable injector. Look at the notes at the bottom. On the right side, we have blue, red, blue, red, blue, blue. So the one skipped is the red. The red channel now on this capture is where the questionable injector is. That's the only thing I just swapped. Injectors. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with this computer, but I have to see exactly what Ryan is seeing here. This is very important. Let me just add myself in here. This is how you can test your boats and your vehicles. On oscilloscope is not a toy. It's not something like, yeah, I can live without it. No, tools are so important. Data analysis is part of a diagnostics. And yes, it takes time to connect everything, to run the computers, and to do it. Well, yeah, that's diagnostics. You want to find the problem, or you just want to be a parts changer and start doing swaptronics. Because what is the problem? And here, I didn't, I did swap connections, but that's it. I didn't swap parts. I didn't have to guess without seeing anything. So when you collect data like this one that you can see and compare, now you understand the only thing I moved, it was injector from one cylinder to the other cylinder, and the problem follow. So yes, the problem is in the boat injectors. And I told this to Ryan because he said, no, the injectors were running good, and we sent it to clean. I'm like, yeah, I have seen many companies, they clean injectors that tell you everything is good because all they want is to charge. That's it. And an injector might run and open, and we can see here it's firing, but it's not firing all the time. So whoever cleaned this injector didn't do a complete fill, because the way the injector cleaning machine they have a probe like 8 or 12, 10, whatever, 6, 4 you have a machine. But when you run it for like an activations of, and this is where also a problem can happen if you're not a very knowledgeable person doing the injection cleaning. And I'm telling you, because I have my own machines, I sold them already. I don't do that no more, but I used to clean injectors all the time. But it was too many people doing it, and a really unfair competition that they tried to lower the price. And this is why, because they don't do the test. They cut the corners to collect more money at the end than a real person or a real test facility does when they give you a report with injection millisecond tests performed, because you do tests as 3 milliseconds activations, 10 millisecond activations, and 50 milliseconds activations. So you are opening and closing those injectors a lot more, and that fills the probes, and then you can have at 3 milliseconds running 500 milliseconds, it filled 7 milliliters, 7 milliliters, 7 milliliters, and all injectors are fine. You do the next test with a wider aperture for the injectors, and now you have discrepancies. That injector is skipping. Why? Because it's staying on more time, or you do a longer or shorter time, because you have to stress, and sometimes you need to apply heat to the injectors in order to fail. In this case, I didn't, and I was going to do that, because the next test that you can do with injector is to apply heat with a heat gun while the injector is running, and you will see click, 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 and it just does a stop, or it skips, like not even like here that you can see that it's very close, but not that easy to capture unless you do a capture like what I just did here. But when you heat it up, it skips like fire, and then you see the red fire and fire, 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 and then another fire. And then when it cools down and start to work again, that's the only thing you can capture this. If you have an oscilloscope, in this case, it's the tool that you need to have, because otherwise you will never see things like that in real time. All you can see is or hear, and he's good. I mean, I'm telling you, Ryan is very sharp as far as being able to, because the injectors that he marked as bad, they are actually correct. But the problem is in the computer. No, I think the problem is in the boat. Like I said, it's the injectors. You need, and I would recommend you, Ryan, toss these injectors and put new injectors, because you will have two fail. These are same hours, same problems, same fuel. Get rid of this, put new injectors. If the customer doesn't want to do it, make a note. And yes, every time you're going to come to do another injector, it might take the computer down. And it's going to be the boat down and your time. So he has to understand that every time you go on a visit to a boat, it's very expensive. Why? Because it's mobile. It's hard to work in there. And it is part of the deal working in boats. And I hope, guys, that you like the content. I am trying to express and show all my tests as much as I can. Connections, pretty simple, on this injector. So you need is a constant power on one side of the injector, right? And then the activation, which in this case is the computer. You go over to your wiring and you see where number one injector wire is, number two, number three, all the way to whatever injectors you have, 4, 6, 8, 12, 10, right? And then you connect the wire in there. At the same time, you connect the oscilloscope and that signal, and you can see it when it's getting activated. If the signal is too small or too big, you can do the changes. It's not going to hurt your oscilloscope unless it's not a good one. Let's say, because these signals, as you can see, it can reach up to 50 volts. So you want to make sure that your oscilloscope has at least twice as much as the signal reading that you're going to collect, because otherwise it can damage the channel on the injector. So let's say if I'm going to read at 100 volts, let me see if my oscilloscope can reach up to 200. I'm going to read a 400, and I need to put an attenuator because my oscilloscope is only for 200, or I use the other one that I have in here, the newer one, which is for 400 volts. Then I am protecting the channels on the oscilloscope. But that's like a bigger signal. Let's say, in this case, this oscilloscope can read up to 200 volt signals. So even if I put 50 volts and the signal, it says over range, it's not going to harm the oscilloscope. It's going to cut the drawing of the image on the screen, and all I need to do is change it from 50 volts to 100 or 150 or 200, and then now my signal will fit in the screen, and I can see it and do the analysis as I show you here. You can apply filters after. I would recommend to anyone that is looking to gather or to buy an oscilloscope, to buy a picoscope. It's the best tool, the best oscilloscope that you will have forever. Don't buy anything else, nothing else. The rest are garbage. Like if you are a technician and you want to get yourself into a tool that can really help you, buy yourself a picoscope 4-channel automotive. And the reason I'm saying automotive is because it has a wider range on voltage protection, and the software is nice. You can just put them into your laptop. It works really well. It's very easy to carry because it's a small footprint, probably, I don't know, maybe 6 by 6 by 1 inch thick. So you can have it in your backpack for the leads and the wire for to connect, which is a USB port, and then your laptop. That's all you need. And now you have the tools, because you're going to need a laptop for Diacom. And that's also the next tool that I recommend to technicians in the boats, to get yourself a Diacom Windows base. Don't buy the TechMate, which is the code reader, throw it on the garbage, sell it to somebody else that wants to just read codes. You want to have software like this that you can do recordings. When you can record all the data, you can just set up the laptop aside, take the boat for a run or do an acceleration, and then because picoscope has so much buffer, that's the memory they can record, that I can put that in there for record for 2 hours if I want to. Depends on the signals and the sample rate that you put. And here I put the sample rate too high. Realistically, it's not really necessary because we're not looking at detail. We're just looking at repetition. But the less sample rate, the more you can record. The higher the sample rate, the less they will record Windows-wise. So, but all you really want is to record, and when you feel the problem, then you can just click stop or pause, and you just hit the space bar, and it will stop. then you can just stop Diacom, save the files, and come back to shore. Or if you're in the dock, then stop the engine and do the analysis like I did here. This is the best tools. Everything will fit in your laptop and your backpack, and you're good to go. I mean, multimeter and leads, back pro things, and now you're working. You can get your hand tools, but you can see what is happening on the boat or in the vehicle that you're testing, automotive or whatever it is. So you need to see, because here, I mean, we're sense human beings. Without being able to really understand and see, it's hard to tell you what is wrong. And these tools allow you to see beyond anything. And this is really, really good. Again, guys, I hope that you like the content. I know sometimes it's a little long. This is to help Brian and Lenny. But yeah, definitely, I'm going to keep stressing, the computer here, see if I feel, that something is wrong with the computer. But the injectors are opening and closing. The skipping is not because of the computer. It's because of the bad injectors. That's it, right? All right, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.